You make your way over to the bangaa that was pointed out, and you see him just sort of leaning back in his seat. He doesn't really have anything on him. Like he's very much swathed in cloth, darker colors, browns and blacks mostly. He sort of looks up as you're approaching. You can see his fingers sort of laced together. Yes? Can I help you?
We're looking for information.
Well, you certainly come to the right bangaa for that. What can this old peddler of stories tell you?
Tell us about the Itsukaro.
The Itsukaro. Well, he sort of leans forward a little bit, and he can't like see his eyes beneath the sort of darkened sort of a turban shawl hood thing he's got going. His lips sort of peel up a little bit to show his teeth in this intrigued grin. And what will you tell me in return? A story for something that grand.
If Nee's able to kind of come in right as he's saying that, goes, about a story of several labyrinths filled with crystals of light and darkness.
Ooh. That is certainly an interesting proposition. Do you tell? I'm surprised no one has commented on the music I have going.
Yeah, it's odd and same.
Yeah, if I saw you, I was just enjoying it.
Ardent. Should I be concerned then?
I'm half suspecting that this mysterious peddler who just wandered into the town, who knows a lot about the tribe no one knows about much of, is himself an Itsukaro, probably. Anyway. Which one do you want to know about? We have several we can tell you. The Crystal of Darkness of Marasu, Bahamut's of the Numo, either of Ramu's from the Mogomog Mountains of Olia. Take your pick.
Whichever you prefer. Surprise me.
Let's talk about, then, the Mughals.
He sort of leans forward a little more, his grin widening as he listens with rapt attention.
Nee regales to him the tale of when a group of intrepid adventurers first not going to outright name it as us immediately, he'll probably figure it out quite quickly if he's smart. Arrived amongst the Mughals, met with their rather big-boned chief. One of their members got turned into a bee temporarily. Then went up the mountain, took part in all of the trials, came face to face with Ramu himself, and fought the shade of the villain who sunk Marasu.
Okay. Go ahead and make a perform check for me, please.
Perform?
Any bonus? This is like first-person bloody experience. We lived it.
Sure, I'll let you add an additional d6 to the roll.
3d6 plus 3, alright?
Wait, and he has something in perform? Or acting or whatever?
Performance.
Yeah, I put some in if you ever needed to bullshit our way out or something. But this is less bullshitting and we're just kind of dramatizing our own adventures.
Yeah.
With specific emphasis on that time I turned Saran into a crater in the floor.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, like, the rest of you become absolutely just enraptured as Nee is recounting this story from memory and sort of embellishing a few details here and there. Like, you catch them immediately, but she's doing a great job telling this story. And indeed, as she's recounting it, sort of leaving it vague as the fact that you guys are the group who did this, You're even noticing that there are a few other bangaa nearby who are eating notably less quieter now, whereas before they were like ravenously snarling. They've ceased their vocalizations and are tearing into their food just a little less violently, as their ears sort of shift around a little bit to try and hear the story better. And as you finish up the story, Nee sort of elbows, or Mika elbows you in the signs like, nicely told.
Well, it is rather fresh on the memory.
The peddler of stories sort of grins and gives a few claps of his hands. That was very well told. I am impressed. And I enjoyed the story thoroughly. A deal is a deal. So I shall tell you a story. You sought to know of the Itsukaro, yes?
Indeed, we are searching for them. There's some things that they should probably be very interested in knowing, as my own story might indicate.
Indeed. Well then. Sort of sits up a little more. What would you like to know? I know many stories about them.
The Itsukaro. They are the guardians of Ifrit's Crystal of Light, and yet they have isolated themselves.
Well,
How so, and how might one either find them or have them find you?
Well, it is certainly true that the Itsukaro are not ones to be found. If they do not wish to be seen, they will not. Many other times, to my knowledge, they have walked among the other tribes hidden in plain sight, merely because they chose not to don their colors or speak their names. They come to those they wish to come to, and none other. And finding them is practically impossible, since they themselves tend to move along the sands like anyone else, but they go farther than any other, far beyond where any other tribe would dare tread. They rush very, very near to the canyons of Arthakor and the Hellfire Pit itself. The ashen clouds shelter them like a veil and a blanket. To draw near to that would be very, very risky.
Wow.
And those few who go, uninvited, don't come back. As for how they isolated themselves and with the crystal, I do not know the full specifics, but given the history of these fine people around you, can you really blame them for wanting to take our most treasured, sacred icon and keep it out of our fumbling, quarreling, bickering, warring hands?
I cannot. However, as the tale goes, things are very dangerous, and not because of the warring, fumbling hands.
All the more reason to keep them out of the fumbling hands, though, yes?
Indeed, but then others' hands are one who will not always appear in but a shade, is anything but fumbling.
He leans back slightly. Well, any would have a hard time finding the Itsukaro, few in number as they are. They were never one of the larger tribes, after all. Did you know, for example, the Itsukaro were formed when two far larger tribes that had been warring with one another accidentally destroyed one another in their final battle? Thousands partook in a massive battle, the final battle of a decades-long war between these two clans. At the close of the battle, the chief of one had somehow, though none know how, procured Ifrit's crystal, and from it beckoned the Bull of Hell himself to fight and defend his people. But Ifrit, the god of fire, the spark of the intelligence we have, he did not care for weakness. He cares not for weakness. He does not care for asking for aid. You stand on your own merits, or you are buried beneath the sand. And so, in their cowardly decision to summon him, both tribes' fates were sealed. Thousands were in the battle. By the time Ifrit left, there were only dozens. They saw firsthand their mistake, and they chose to ensure no one else could repeat it.
The glass around the city.
No.
Was it here?
No.
No?
That was the second time one was foolish enough to summon Ifrit. The Atoxafin were formed from the first. This city was the
tried
second.
the second time.
It's hard to say. There were dozens of tribes involved in that battle. But the Atoxafin themselves were involved, I know that. But as for who summoned Ifrit, the finger has been pointed in every direction, and each claim is just as credible as the last. Utterly not.
Well, back to the Atoxafin. If the tale were to progress and its protagonists were to seek them out, what would you say, as this teller of stories, the best way to go about it?
That is a tricky question. They would need to make themselves known to the Atoxafin, of course. And in to such an isolated group, one cannot afford to be too subtle among the boisterous and loud mouths of the bangaa that surround them.
So, can you say that again? The moment you started to speak, you cut out.
What he basically said was that the protagonists should make themselves known to the Atoxafin however they can. One can't afford to be subtle when dealing with the utterly unsubtle bangaa that surround them in the thousands.
So, you're telling us to make... We're telling these protagonists should make a big statement, one that the Atoxafin should not ignore.
That is one way. Simply making their presence known and their purpose known could also do it. Any number of things. At the end of the day, though, simply having the Atoxafin's attention would not be enough, because the attention would have to be leaning in the right direction, you understand? The heroes of the story would want to make sure they have the Itsakaro's appreciation, their allegiance, I suppose, if they wish to continue on this, and not their ire. They would need to prove the worthiness of their cause.
They protect the Itsakaro are the guardians of their crystal. Their very existence is its protection, its salvation. And if the protagonist of this story, their very purpose was the salvation of the crystals themselves.
That devotion would need to be proven, I think.
What if the protagonists were carrying such devotion and proof of that devotion in their pockets?
Then they would be a fool to present it carelessly. The bangaa are a selfish and greedy bunch so often,
Many tribes often vying for power, and there are other eyes that watch from afar, age-old enemies and new.
And therein lies the problem. To make such a statement as that, many eyes would be drawn.
Indeed. So one should be careful to only draw the right eyes.
Can I make an awareness check and see if anybody's actually their eyes lingering on us a little too much?
Sure, make an awareness check. Getting the occasional curious glance, but near as you can tell, you're not being necessarily eavesdropped on. After the story ended, everyone just kind of stopped giving a shit.
Out of curiosity, I must ask, from where does the teller of stories begin his own? Where do you come from?
Make a negotiation check.
We require a lot of walls here.
12.
12. The peddler's grin sort of grows a little bit.
Ah, but that story is not earned.
Then I guess we'll have to earn it.
He sort of lifts up one claw and sort of pulls down one of the straps of the cloth over his face to show his eye, and he sort of winks it at you.
That you do.
And he pulls it back up over his eye.
He's definitely it's a token. Oh, wait. Oh, it's a Karo, rather. So, if one was to prove their worth, what would one be required to do? How would the protagonists prove their allegiance without revealing that card?
By showing that they are not the enemy.
How very cryptic.
God, I hate it when you get cryptic like this.
Matter sure. Would there Ditsukaro, in this city as things are now, is there in your humble opinion as a knowledgeable teller of stories, is there anything here that they would see that they would find distasteful, immoral, fixable?
There are troubles which linger in the dark corners of the city.
He leans back, and his grin turns into a morose frown.
The worst kinds of stories are the ones that are still unfolding.
Then perhaps some new characters should be introduced.
Perhaps they should. And those new characters should start with learning the lay of the land, so they can find their place on the stage.
Well, if there is trouble in this city and things in the dark, I'm sure they will find it soon enough. They seem to have the habit of it.
It is a good habit to have.
Well, thank you for the stories.
And thank
sure
you
we'll
for
go-
yours. They were most intriguing. I'll have to retell
look-
them sometime.
Feel free. And I do look forward to hearing your next stories. I have a feeling it's going to be most insightful.
You have good instincts. I will give you that. But I'm tired now. No more stories. Be on your way.
Until the next time. Come on. There is business to attend to.
Yeah. Well, I
So
guess
even
there's
though
nothing
Nia
else.
absolutely stole the show there, that was an awesome interaction and I loved it.
It got into very subterfuge, talking about everything as if it was a story. Kind of.
This kind of went that way. didn't it?
You and the cryptic bullshit.
Well, I guess there's
I'm
nothing
afraid
else
to
to do but find trouble and deal with it.
Yeah, referring to everything in third person as if it was like tales from a book or something. Like, Right, so we're away from him.
Yep.
Alright, so taking us away from the bongo into like a relatively quiet corner. Alright, so subterfuge aside, I'm fairly certain he's just the man we're looking for from the place we want to go.
And he won't tell us anything until we do what he wants. Of
Wow.
course.
Well, it is said in stories that the Itsukaro only reveal their identities to those they know they can trust.
And besides, as long as it's good intentions we're helping out this place, I'm up for it.
Good intentions.
Well, if there are troubles here, people doing bad things, all we need to do is keep our ears to the ground.
The big
Getting involved in more bongo bullshit. Great.
It's a pretty big place as well, and the heat.
What needs
Yes.
cracking?
But
Carrot-
sure.
And
We
Kara's gonna sort of
find a
cross
way.
her arms and give
If we're going to
Thanatos a
conduct
raise.
that search, what would we need to roll?
What was that?
Sorry, everything went quiet. I asked a question, then all of a sudden your dialogue just kind of caught up, like all at once.
Oh, weird. So you were asking something? Because I think you went quiet for us, too.
What did you say first?
Well, I was trying to say things, but people kept talking over me.
Sorry.
I was trying to
Well,
have
you've
Kyra
been-
sort of cross her arms and give Thanatos a pointed look and say, "Do I need to get a spray bottle?"
He doesn't respond.
Right, let's get going. So if he walked the streets, what would we need to roll to would it be awareness, inquiry, just to kind of generally get a lay of the land and see if there's any trouble brewing that Sakara friend mentioned?
You would probably, it would depend. If you're just wandering and passively listening, it would be awareness. But the DC would be a lot the DCs would be it would depend. Again, if you're actively asking, it would be inquiry. If you're passively listening, it would be awareness.
Let's start off just by kind of passively doing before we start drawing attention to
Asking
ourselves.
around, yeah.
Yeah,
What if-
to start
with
with
that plan?
Okay, what if we have stealth elf do a stealth check
Yeah. that's
and
nearly
eavesdrop on
666.
people?
Well, let's just walk the streets first. We can kind of go into more nitty-gritty later, but for now, let's just walk the streets and see what we can pick up just by going around.
And damn, I was so close to 666.
Same.
So, you,
Jesus Christ.
we're in sync today.
I guess I gotta do Thanatos and Kyra. Thanatos is just not happy to be here.
I thought you'd be up for it since we're in your kind of climate.
Yeah, I don't think being among Bongers.
And Kyra is still, I guess, trying to spray Thanatos with a water bottle.
What about Mika?
Every time Thanatos is racist, justified or not, she's like, gonna smack him. Alright, and Mika, she got a 12.
Bit
Alright.
better.
I mean, just out of character is like when he does it to like Mika and Nee, it's playful, but Bonga are a little more
Yeah.
A little bit more of a sore spot.
Yeah, it's a genuine actual prejudice there, and Kyra's sort of cracking down on it.
Yeah.
Well, as long as you don't go overboard like Anakin did, you'll be fine.
Right. Jesus Christ, Anakin.
Or he
That's
doesn't
not
just
that's not a reference Hades is going to understand, you know.
Oh, right.
Hades understand what?
It was a Star Wars reference.
Oh, of course, I'm not gonna know a damn thing.
Because you're a heathen. You haven't watched Star Wars yet, you son of a bitch.
I am an uncultured swine. We all know this.
You know, when I think of Uncultured Swine, I just thought that's basically me in a nutshell because I listen to rock and metal music. But
I also-
tastes.
I also like how that storyteller back there, he basically told us he was Itsukaro without telling us he was an Itsukaro.
Well, they like the rules.
I was afraid for a second you were gonna try to flash him the crystal you got from Bahamut.
I was suggesting it in the vague terms, just because I kind of figured out he was an Itsukaro from his first outset of this is a mysterious stranger. Oh, the Itsukaro are allegedly going to blend in by dressing inconspicuously and turning out out of the blue, like I am.
Yeah.
It was pretty quick to put two and two together there.
Yeah. So back to looking through the streets. Do we learn or see anything?
Okay, well, most of you can't really parse anything in particular. It's just kind of this. It's a very hectic place between the denseness of the bangaa moving about their business, oftentimes chattering very loudly at each other, some in friendly tones, others in very hostile tones. You imagine over like family or clan-based rivalries or issues. It's very hard to sort of parse a universal mood or pick up on any snippets of information that are in any way relevant to the wider city. But Nee and Alistair, as you're sort of going, you do start to notice that that there are a lot of individuals who have this sort of underlying tension. Like, and the more you look, you start noticing that there's a sort of a jittery nervousness to a lot of the population, especially those you notice moving around with hatchlings. You start to realize that any parents with their young with them are being extra careful to keep their young close. And the groups that you've noticed, and the groups that I mentioned earlier, you look around and you realize that they're sticking together a little more closely than seems natural. Like they're all always within arm's reach of each other, easy arm's reach.
You see what I see, Nee?
Yeah, everyone's on edge, staying close together, particularly with the kids.
Yeah, this is pure fear. All right. Something's definitely going on here. But what? That's for us to find out.
Let's see if anyone can be forthcoming. Like, Nee's going to look out for a generally amenable looking group, and is going to approach them.
Okay, make an awareness check to find one.
10.
It takes you a little while. It's getting on towards the evening before you finally all your walking around and listening took up a lot of time, and the sun is starting to set. By the time things start to thin out a little bit, you can get a better look at the more specific groups and get a general feel for them without it just being lost in the blend. And as you're sort of passing through, it looks to be this open marketplace with a lot of open stalls. A lot of it is like meat on sale, or various forms of pottery or bead-based jewelry to some extent. A whole assortment of things. It's a very large sort of open plaza with a lot of these stalls. And while a lot of the merchants are packing up their shit and getting a move on, you do see a trio of bangaa with bright orange scales and sort of blue cloth to identify their group, sort of standing by one of the closing up stalls and sort of talking to each other. And they seem to have a generally non-threatening demeanor. They're holding themselves upright. They're just kind of chatting. You see one of them sort of give out a chuckle at something another said.
Right, and he is going to approach them.
All right. Their conversation hushes as you approach, and one of them walks over to meet you. Yeah? You need something?
Sorry to bother you, but my friends and I are new to the city, and I can't help but notice that there seems to be a lot of unease around. Just wondering whether there's something we should be worried about.
Perceptive bunch. He looks back over at his friends and says something to them in a language you don't understand, the sort of snarly, snappy tongue, and they snap something back before he nods and turns back to you. Yeah, what do you want to know?
Why people seem to be so afraid.
He said, why, not what.
Sorry. I said, oh, like I said, we're new to the city, and if there's something we should be wary of, it would behoove us to know it.
Fair enough. Well, as it is, there've been a lot of disappearances of late.
Sort of lowers his voice a little bit.
Lot of bonga just up and vanishing as if into thin air. So, I mean, it's been going on for, let's say, maybe a little under a week.
Has there been any, pattern to these disappearances? Is it all over the city in a general area?
Seems to be all over. I haven't noticed any pattern aside from that. I'm not really asking. Poking my nose into it just seems like a bad way to get it over on the mice and get its eyes on me, whatever it is. Some folk are blaming it on the Ankeg, but that's an old myth. That can't be it.
I see. That's concerning.
Oh, very.
Has it just been all kinds of bonga? Young, old, everyone?
It was for the first couple days, it was just a small smattering of adults here and there who went missing. But over the days that followed, just about every kind of bonga's up and gone missing, including young. Yeah.
If a
Hatchlings
couple of
just snatched up when their moms turned away for a second.
If a couple of adventurers offering their services for free were willing to help look into the matter, who would they go to?
Well, I suppose that really depends. Really, there's nothing stopping a group of adventurers from just kind of looking into things, but if they didn't make themselves, what they're doing known to Begamnon first, he'd probably get a little pissy.
So,
He likes to know what's going on in his territory, you see.
then perhaps we should offer our services to Begamnon.
Possibly. It's up to you, if that's what you want to do. Just, be careful. Don't insult the guy, or his mate will come and turn you into paste.
His mate?
Yeah, Trigana. You're really new here if you don't know who that is.
We'd heard about Begamnon himself. I didn't realize he had a mate.
Yeah, he has a mate. We'd been together for a very, very long time. Pretty much since the moment that their clan took the position of the Toxifin. She's just she's kind of quiet. I've only seen her once or twice when Begamnon was out in public. They're always arm locked. But she's a lot bigger than he is, for one thing. And doesn't usually talk a whole lot. Honestly, one could be forgiven for mistaking her as just his bodyguard, but no, not really. That's not the relationship they have at all. She just likes to... He is hers, and she likes to make sure everyone knows it. And she doesn't like people screwing with her things.
I see. Ah, thanks for that. You guys stay safe if that's the case.
Yeah.
We'll do the same.
Yeah, keep your head down.
And he sort of nods and heads back to his group.
You cut out again.
Damn it, something's going fucky with your internet, I think.
We can hear him just fine. I think it's just you.
Actually, I think it's both our internets because mine just had a stroke on Discord.
I mean,
Why
I
you
did
just
just
change
change
the
the region to US Central, so.
Yeah.
Let's try that.
Alright, so all I heard that was the word group there.
He said, you two keep your head down, and then he turned to head back to his group after you said you'd keep safe.
He turns back to the others. Seems we'll need to head to this backgammon after all, unfortunately. We'll keep quiet about the crystals, whatever you do. I'm not sure I trust him. Just offer our services as adventurers to investigate these disappearances. There's people being abducted.
And when he starts questioning why we're here,
Like I said, we're adventurers. This is kind of what we do.
Although from the sounds of it,
I mean, if you haven't
I'd be more
noticed,
worried about-
there's not many adventurers around here.
Well, we're particularly adventurous adventurers.
I know one thing. I think I'd be more worried about his mate than anything else.
Don't insult the guy. Maybe let me do the talking.
Oh, you can
His
certainly do
wise
the talking.
Thanatos is no saint. Sometimes.
Yeah, because Thanatos, I know you don't like the guy already. And Alistair, no offense, but if anyone was going to accidentally make a faux pas, probably you.
Gotta
Yeah,
agree
cool.
with me on this one.
Yeah, heat is not exactly my boutique. It makes me a bit loopy.
So yes,
Best if
Nee,
you
you
do
can
it all.
talk with the bastard.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Alright. Just watch our backs. This guy. So far, every other nation leader we've encountered has been rather amenable to why we're here, but this guy sounds more of a power grabber.
Well, don't worry. I've been keeping my eye out ever since we showed up here, so...
Doing that. Who knows? Maybe there's something else we need to use our human wall for.
I suppose the only thing else I could think of for good graces in this place, if those are hurt, I could simply heal them or help them best I can.
Well, maybe if we find these people and they're hurt, let's hope we find them alive. Crystals
Yeah.
aside, I don't like the thought of people vanishing in the night.
Yeah, that sends a chill down my spine.
Alright, let's head to the big, obvious seat of power and strike an audience with this backgammon.
Alright. So you make your way towards the big palace, and you eventually find this large sort of trench that looks like soil was pushed, or the sand was pushed aside by an immense pressure wave or a ball of force passing through it, like parting a sea, so to speak, before it's solidified into glass, that's been converted into this sort of main thoroughfare heading up to the central spire. And you can see that this part has a lot of armed bangaa sort of walking through it, and most of them give you these sort of suspicious glares as you're passing through, but otherwise don't move to cross your path in any way. As you draw closer to the palace, so to speak, you see that there isn't really much of a uniform shape to it. It's big, and it's made of a lot of coiling fire-shaped spires. And there's this sort of path that's been worn into the slopes leading up to an entrance that looks to have just been chiseled out of it over time, with plenty of cracks and little jagged edges. It's very much a case of things are only at all smooth and pleasant to look at because erosion got rid of the rough edges over time. And
Is anyone going to bar our way? I assume so.
yeah, as you're coming up to the entrance, there are two bangaa flanking the door, both in a far more elaborate sort of attire that you know is armored, and they have these weird swords at their side, kopeshes, if you're familiar with those, where they sort of go up straight for a second and then turn into this big sort of half circle curve.
Yep.
Yeah, those things. And both of them sort of draw out their kopeshes and hold them in a cross shape in front of the door just before you were to pass. They don't say anything, they just sort of give you this intimidating glare.
So we're before them, but they're not saying anything. They're just kind of glaring at us.
Yeah, they just drew their swords, barred your path, and are just sort of glaring at you as if like, piss off. They're not saying anything, though.
Respectfully, we would like to request an audience with Agamemnon, the current leader of the. I can never pronounce that thing.
Right, he's currently just the Etoxiphen. His clan is the Etoxiphen.
I keep forgetting the pronunciation. It's a fucking weird word. The current Etoxiphen.
Agamemnon does not speak with outsiders.
With respect, we have caught wind of the troubles the city has undergone recently with the disappearances. We're offering assistance of an outside perspective.
Make a negotiation check.
Oh yeah.
Nice.
The first one sort of opens his mouth, you presume to enforce his negative stance, but the other one just kind of taps his sword and gives him a more meaningful look. A few seconds pass before the first one lets out a...
I will bring your request to Agamemnon. Don't hold your breath.
He sheaths his kolpesh and heads inside. A few minutes pass before he comes back.
By some fluke, he's agreed to see you. Leave your weapons here and come on.
Very well.
The second one sort of pulls out a hand to hold onto your gear.
Here you go.
Kyra passes the whip.
Don't break that.
Thanatos begrudgingly hands over the Thunder's Crescent.
Mm-hmm.
Don't worry, if trouble happens, you can still summon your other one.
Exactly.
And Mika isn't handing over anything because she just has an unassuming book on her hip.
I mean, they would think, oh, they could tell by her attire she's a mage, so yeah, book is a no-no.
Well, I mean, book or no, it's not going to stop a mage from casting magic.
Yeah.
What about Alistair? Because he just has a staff.
You wouldn't deprive an old man of his walking stick.
Oh.
He's not Gandalf.
As much as I would want to put on that, I think I'm a bit too young to pull that off unless I have a bad injury.
Grow a beard.
And wear just a big white robe.
Oh, great.
And a big hat.
And be
Well, I
Ian
could either
McKellen.
go Gandalf the White or Gandalf the Grey.
So, we're going in?
So the first one leads you inside, and already it's kind of confusing once you pass in because it's all made of glass, but it's not like mirrors. So you can see through some of it, but in others you can see these swirling patterns of petrified sand or lingering little planks of desert wood or pieces of sandstone brick just kind of suspended in the coiling, flowing curves of the glass and the flame patterns that have been slowly chiseled away. It's all very strange and haphazard and kind of an assault on the senses, especially since a lot of the light that's coming around comes in the form of these little glowing orange sort of spheres that have been set into the walls, providing illumination and reflecting sharply off of a lot of the edges and flattened surfaces of this strange amalgamation of glass. So you're constantly having to like wince your eyes as it's being assaulted. And who did we lose?
We lost Darkness.
Darkness?
Oh, wait.
What happened?
That was a bloody weird glitch. It just disconnected me, but it acted like I was still in the call. That was odd. So I just and then jumped back in and I'm fine again, I guess.
Yeah, how about that?
What was the last thing you heard?
We were walking through and then it just cut out all the sound.
Right. To summarize real quickly, you can still see bits of like sand and sandstone and little bits of wood in the glass walls, and a lot of the illumination is provided by these sort of fist-sized orange spheres that have been set into the walls, providing illumination, and the bright light is reflecting into your eyes, kind of making you have to blink and squint a bunch.
See.
You're led through a few more corridors that are not at all uniform in shape or consistency before you come out into a much larger chamber that has a very large sort of one of these orange spheres set behind this. It's very wide and has a few cushions on it, so it's like a very wide sort of lounge chair almost, just sort of chiseled into the glass, and it has these sweeping up spikes on either side, giving it this look that almost looks like an egg that's been broken open from within and then decorated with down pillows and little cushions and the like to make it comfortable. And sitting on it sort of expectantly and impatiently, you see this largely green-scaled bongo with the sort of pale yellow chest and belly, sort of a black patch on the top of his elongated face, and sharp yellow eyes with hard eyebrows sort of angled down in this sort of expectant look. Standing beside the cracked egg seat, you see a behemoth of a female bonga standing a full head taller than the one sitting. She's colored in much darker blue scales with a blackened underbelly. Her eyes are this sort of fiery orange, and she has some very noticeable bone and animal hide armor sort of wrapped around her form, and an enormous maul strapped to her back. You can't help but sort of gulp at the sight of it. It looks like it's made out of chiseled stone, and like it could pulverize you with a single hit if you weren't as tough as you are.
She screams potential notorious enemy.
And she very much, as you come in, gives you this sort of a narrows her eyes, as if in warning, but doesn't say anything as you step in. And you assume Begamnon, the one in the chair, sort of nods at you as you approach.
So, you're the adventurers offering your services, I take it?
We are. We have heard of the troubles Hunter Banga is experiencing. Banga vanishing in the day, the night, young and old. We are offering our expertise, our blades, and our know-how in helping discover the cause of these disappearances. Free of charge, of course.
Free of charge, you say?
He leans back in his chair.
You must think I'm an idiot. Come now. No one goes to such lengths for free. You obviously want something in exchange.
In the complete honest truth, Begamnon, we want nothing from you in return for discovering the cause of these disappearances. We merely wish to find the cause itself.
And then why is that? I don't recall the problems of the bangaa concerning you. I've never seen you before. You're outsiders. What business is it of yours?
Simple business is people are vanishing, and
Yes,
you would help.
my people.
It is not. Of course, that is not in dispute, but we merely wish to help. That is our complete motivation in this case.
Hmm. Well, you will forgive me if I am skeptical of that claim. I have to be, of everything I hear.
On that, no one could fault you, Bagamnon.
So, while I don't necessarily trust your explanation and motives, I do have another question. Why should I entrust this matter to strangers from outside?
People are vanishing on a hourly, if not day-to-day basis, and while no doubt you will eventually find the cause, you are in that seat for a very good reason, I would hazard a guess. An outside perspective, one of mages and adventurers who have traveled the breadth of the Enoan continent might be able to expedite things.
Make a
And
negotiation check.
And the sooner the culprit is brought to justice, the less people vanish, and your people only have you to thank for that.
Add a plus. Add an extra d6 to your roll.
So negotiation.
Yep.
Stroke his pride. There you go. There you go, Tom.
13. Okay. He thinks it over for a moment. He has a sort of a pleased smirk on his face after thinking it over. He's like,
I will give you credit, outsider. You know how to pick your words.
he leans back slightly.
Very well. You may do as you see fit if you wish to investigate this. Just remember, as you've made no claim of a desire for compensation, you will receive none. And as I don't trust your motives as outsiders, you will receive no aid. My men will continue their searches and their own investigations, with or without you.
We understand. If we find the culprit and who is causing the disappearances, you will be informed post haste.
Very good. Now then, is that everything?
It is.
Then it's time for you to leave. I was
Then we
just
won't
about to retire for the night when you came in.
He stands up and looks over at Krigana.
And we've earned some time alone.
Sort of licks his lips, and Krigana just kind of glances sideways at him and then just rolls her eyes.
Then we won't waste any more of your time. Nods ahead and starts to leave.
The only thing I was going to suggest, if I may,
Oh, God.
and of course, if any other services I'm willing to give myself, if anyone is ill or suffered a nasty injury, I could lend my services of healing if must.
Gamna just sort of gives you a look.
I'll probably guess that you already got that under control.
As I said a moment ago, you may do as you see fit.
Very
Me
well.
gently.
Thank you for your generosity. We leave you be.
Nee gently puts a hand on his shoulder and starts to encourage him towards the door.
He's already walking.
Dude.
Probably should admit that he also took a bow as well.
Okay, so we're leaving, right?
Yep.
Yes.
As he nervously walks out.
And so once we get out of the palace and out of earshot,
And your weapons
Of
are
any
returned
of-
to you as you're stepping out.
so yeah, all that, we're out of the palace, out of earshot. He just turns to Alistair, like, okay, look, Alistair, I know you're the goody two shoes polite one, but Bonga don't give much for manners.
I just thought to show some respect to the ruler of this place, okay? And let them know that, if anyone needs medical help, I'm happy to give. I'm a paladin after all, it's my job.
He knows, and he has bid us investigate. So let us investigate.
It
I
is,
have a feeling if there's anyone
It is
still
getting late
alive-
at this point. I should point out it was like evening when you found the the blue cloth bongas, and so the sun is like kissing the horizon right now. So
Alright. So probably best to find a place to rest, but I was also going to point out quick. Plus, if there is any of the taken victims still alive, I wouldn't be surprised to be in bad condition.
You can play doctor all you want when we find him. As
But that's
for
the thing. If people go missing, it's most likely at night, so someone should keep an eye out if, we're planning to rest here somewhere.
me,
I say we take it in shifts.
Alright, we'll take shifts. Half of us will patrol the streets at night, kind of keeping an eye out for anything, and then we'll swap out halfway through.
Sounds like a plan. We don't want to wear ourselves out, especially if we are going to find out where they've been taken to.
not taking the first shift, and he just starts walking back towards where the little wing is parked.
all right.
Because I am not staying in the city.
I don't mind either way, although it'd probably be best for me to have a bit of a rest from the heat before I go on a shift.
In that case, you can take second. I'll take the first. Mika, do you wish to join me on that?
Sure.
Cairo just
Good
kind of
luck, you
shrugs.
two.
I'll go with Thanatos. On his.
Alistair, did you say you were going with them as well?
Yeah, good luck, you two, and be careful.
Will do.
All right,
Ca-
so
Out of
just-
character, can I just say how much I love that? Nee says do the talking because one Thanatos is has his prejudice, and Alistair, due to his tendency to his well-meaning ramblings, might have a tendency to annoy the impatient, ruthless Bonga. Just the amount, just the sudden fear of we've been told to leave, we're starting to leave, and then Alistair starts talking.
It's like,
be
God
fair,
damn,
he
man,
was
you had
nervous
one
on the-
job.
To be fair, he was nervous on the spot, and the heat's still getting to him.
Still, when the Bonga Overlord tells you to get the fuck out of his castle, you get the fuck out of his castle.
He could have very easily turned around. I thought I told you to leave. What is this about other things?
He could have fed you to his mate for all he cared.
This is why we love Alistair. He is incredibly well-meaning and a nice guy, but damn, he can be
Though,
unaware.
though, just out of character, because it's a little too late for the interaction, just me kind of giving honest says, "Oh, we're just doing this because we're nice and we just want to help people." Yeah, and he was just like, "No, you are so full of bullshit."
In these particular, like, obviously there is the whole finding the crystal thing, but right now in these moments, oh, there's people missing. All right, this is serious. Let's fix this.
Which I don't know why. I have a feeling that basically saying that if he is grateful and is there sure there's no reward you want? Well, just information, maybe.
All right, so you guys are headed back to the little wing. I take it.
Yeah, me,
Yeah,
Alistair, and Cairo.
All right.
Because it probably would not be a good idea to leave an airship at night,
Guarded.
unguarded,
Yeah.
unless he
Plus,
wants
I
to
don't-
find any worship.
Plus, I don't think we're going to find any nice, welcome comfort sleeping in their place.
All right.
Yeah.
And
Especially Thanatos. He
Okay,
won't like
so-
it.
Also,
Then-
on the calendar, what day is it currently?
it is on the calendar. It is the end of the 7th day of Weary Sun. It's Levias.
Okay, so dramas. Alright, so while they're on the ship, me and Mika are going to spend half the night generally walking the streets, looking out for anything odd.
All right. Make an awareness check. I'll roll one for Mika as well.
Of all the times to get everyone, we're still 12. So.
Okay. Well then, it gets remarkably quiet as the sun goes down and the remaining bangaa sort of retreat into their homes to sleep for the night. Those few that you pass sort of give you these curious, quirked looks before hurrying on. It's very quiet. The only real sound you get is a sort of faintly whistling wind that passes through. It almost sounds like the ringing you get when you tap or blow properly on a wine glass. This sort of very gentle, high-pitched, ringing ambience that sort of hangs in the background and flares up whenever the wind does. There aren't very many people about, not very many bangaa, and it's very quiet. Is there anything you want to say, or no?
Well, me is mostly right now focused on the matter at hand, listening for any any signs of movement, any sounds. From so much as like a whisper to the sounds of a scuffle or a shout of alarm.
Alright. Well, as you're sort of walking around, you do see up ahead the faint glow of like a torch fire or something equivalent around a bend and footsteps approaching. Sounds like two sets.
Some people coming up ahead.
I see that. Probably patrol.
Couple
Walking around the
seconds.
corner.
Yep. They come around the corner, and it is indeed two bangaa, dressed in similar garb to the ones you saw up at the palace, quote-unquote. Not quite as elaborate, but still very practical. Again, thick leathers and bones sort of stapled together to make protection. And as they come around, one of them sort of lifts up the orange sphere that he's holding for light and squints up ahead.
Who goes there?
Two adventurers. We're on behalf of the Gamnon, keeping watch and investigating ourselves.
Oh, yeah, that right, huh?
Sort of comes up until you're more well illuminated in the orange sphere's light. His buddy with him.
Not sure what you're expecting to find. None of us have had any luck.
We might get lucky.
Or you might get unlucky. You might get snatched up yourselves.
Don't worry. We're ready to foil that eventuality. Kind of gestures to the crossbow.
I hope you can back that up. It's always in the blink of an eye, it is. Those who think they've seen it say that it happens so fast they blink. And just like that, whoever was taken was just gone.
Blink. What else did they say about that?
Dunno, I'm not the one who heard the story firsthand, but it's like that. It all happened so fast.
Anyone ever seen it?
If they have, either they haven't seen it, either they haven't said anything, or they don't even believe their own eyes. Or no one else believes them.
Noted. Well, I'm sure if anything happens, we can trust the brave guard of the city to come save us. What was that noise?
You heard the sound of what sounded like shifting rocks off to your left.
Looking off to my left.
All right. You look off to your left. What the? You heard a zoop and then one of the guards exclaiming in surprise.
Looking back and getting one of the guards is gone.
Yep, you look back and one of the guards has just straight up disappeared.
Okay, that was poorly timed. Mika, detect any magic in the area. That's a teleport.
Mika quickly pulls out her tome, flips it open, casts Detect Magic, and there's this blue ping that flickers out.
Yeah, that was a teleport spell, all right.
I need you to make an opposed finesse check.
Oh, is it going to try and get me next? Fuck you. We were being listened to, clearly, the fact that they've tried now of all times. Nailed it.
Indeed. You feel a tingle around you, and the air starts to shimmer, and you're like, and you quickly sidestep just as the air where you had been just sort of compresses in on itself, and Mika jumps back in surprise.
Oh, no you don't.
A second later, the other guard disappears with barely any time to exclaim in surprise.
Nee kind of takes a hold of Mika's arm to make sure that she doesn't go anywhere, and like, alright, can you track that in any way?
I'm trying. I don't know where it was cast from. Spell doesn't tell me that.
Nee's looking around for any sign of a caster.
Make an awareness check.
Shit, this got tense.
12.
Looking around, you don't see any other
I
people
put
in the immediate vicinity.
Can I put an extra d6 for any, like, general awareness?
If you want to, like, do the whole destiny point costing to do that, sure.
Just one to have an extra d6 to roll 1d6. Alright, that brings me up to 17.
Alright, a 17. Again, you don't see any people around as you're looking around, but then you sort of look up towards the left where you had initially heard the rocky sound, and you see perched on the top of one of the nearby buildings a black bird just kind of looking down at you with eyes that glow like fire.
Putting my crossbow out and using disabling shot, cannot flee.
Make an accuracy check.
You're seriously gonna fight this thing with just two of you?
Well, I'm rather hoping it's a null enemy that we can disable it and then we can put it to sleep. Even if we can't, we can potentially make enough noise that the guards will come. And, like, we found the culprit! So, let's roll 2d6 plus 20. Yes, that's dex, sorry. Accuracy 7. So plus 7. 11.
All right, let me see here. An 11. No. You fire off.
Adding extra d6.
Okay, go for it.
Okay, I feel like we need to nerf that a little bit.
Well, I mean,
does
you
feel
say
good.
that, but you say that, but it does come with a cost with Destiny, which is valuable.
Well,
That
yeah,
is
well, it's
true,
still just
but I have a
one.
few.
You say it's
I came
one.
up with one at random known as Test Your Luck. Although that works a bit differently.
Alright, well, 12, 13.
Nah, still no. Just misses.
Fucking.
You fire off the shot, and like it almost hits, but the bird just kind of hops to the side and it just whistles by its cheek.
Irritating?
What was that?
Said that's irritating.
Indeed.
Isn't it, though?
And Mika is going to, now that it's her move, she's going to look up at it and blink. And her detect magic is going to tell her something, and she's going to point out,
Nothing's under a shapeshift.
Can you put it to sleep?
I can try.
and Mika is going to attempt to cast Sleep on it. Which means she has to make an opposed finesse check against it.
Shapeshift.
A shapeshift.
Right, and there's Mika's thing.
That's
Depending
pretty
what-
high.
Oh, I guess there is some shifting in this.
Depending on what happens next turn, I might be able to help with that if I throw a stone and to stun it first, but yeah.
Well,
All that.
you see
Well,
the
that
gray
was
cloud sort of fall over the creature, over the bird, and then when it parts, it just kind of shakes its head, and you hear this low sort of a almost like an amused laugh from deep in its throat.
It's immune to sleep.
This sounds like the witch from.
ODM, was it immune to that spell?
Yes.
Yes, it was
It
immune
is.
to sleep.
Oh, that's irritating.
And now it's its turn. It's going to flap open its wings. Its eyes are going to burn brightly and actually look like they light on fire. And it is going to cast a spell on Mika.
Big
Oh, dear.
mistake.
So you're going to roll Mika's opposed finesse. 'Cause
Now this
there's
is motherfucker. Don't make me pop my
Bang.
wings.
Alright, so Mika rolled a 13.
And what does it roll?
Alright,
Oh,
so,
well, okay.
okay, well then. The air around Mika begins to shimmer, and she quickly ducks back, just in time to avoid being snatched up by the teleport as well.
Retreat.
The bird's eyes sort of
Retreat.
narrow a bit,
You're not there.
and then it sort of turns around, flares out its wings, and lifts up, gaining use of flight, and it uses its movement to start flying away. Nee, what you doing?
Retreat.
Well, it's flying away. That's the thing, and like, I guess we can't tell whether this is a normal enemy or a notorious enemy or whatever.
Not off the top of your head, not from what little interactions you've had, nope. And it's worth noting, this thing's only like about the size of a crow in its current shape.
Yeah, like the two retreat. I don't think it's all that tough. All right, I'm going to throw stone to stun.
Alright. Alright, go ahead and roll that d6 then. One point of damage. Okay, so you quickly pick up a stray piece of glass off the ground and you chuck it. And you pelt the bird right on the back between the wings, and it lets out this as it spirals and flips through the air and falls back down somewhere in the streets.
Alright, so we get this turn and next turn to do something before it starts to move again. Mika, anything you can do?
Have to get close to it.
It landed like somewhere in the tangle of streets ahead of you, like the building's blocked line of sight.
Well, we have time while it recovers from that fall.
All right, so
No, not there, but the only thing I could think of is she ices it.
she has to find it first. So if you're trying to find where it fell, both you and Mika need to make scavenge checks to sort of suss it out.
Irritating. Don't have much on that.
We've got 11.
All right.
Oh my goodness, double 11.
It takes up your whole turn, but quickly shuffling around, you manage to peer down on one of the alleys, and you see the bird there, having just landed on top of a barrel.
Well, it's a good thing we have another turn.
It's done.
Yep, it's
All right.
starting to pick itself up.
Nee's gonna just ready herself up. Let Mika do her thing first.
What she's planning on doing.
All right, Mika. Let's see here.
What about stop?
Good work. Stop. Freeze it.
Yeah, Mika's going to go ahead then and attempt to cast Stop on the target. So she once again needs to make a finesse check against it.
Does the fact that it's stunned help in any way?
I'll let her get an extra d6 on her roll.
Damn dice, behave yourself.
Just resisted. Just barely.
Any chance she could use... How much destiny should she have?
Yeah, it's too late. The roll already went through.
Ah, it's irritating. Well, she'll have another turn to attempt it.
I mean, the second you guys get done, it's going to go back over to it because, like, you already passed the turn where it was stunned. It took your whole turn to put it down. So
I mean, it's not going to be able to flee immediately. It's going to, if it tries to move again or attack or whatever. But
I mean, like, we passed the turn where it was stunned.
no, I mean, our next turn she might be able to attempt it again. That's what I meant.
Okay.
All
Maybe
right,
it
let me have
doesn't already try to make an escape check or something.
maybe. What's a red shot? What's his new ability? If it takes damage from single touch. I have Limit Breaker here. Remind me, what does Limit Breaker, the full description of Limit Breaker again? In abilities?
Limit Breaker. With you, Limit Breaker means that if Mika is suddenly dropped down to a very small fraction of her HP by a sudden amount of damage or is one-shot KO'd, you can instantly use a Limit Break. That's all your Limit Breaker does.
Yeah.
I believe we have that written down somewhere?
Yeah, I kind of read it slightly vaguely and I forgot what it meant. But yeah.
So I believe it was like if Mika takes 75% of her max HP damage in one hit.
Or she just goes down. Or she just goes down, yeah.
Right.
Alright. I just had a Limit Break there. Okay, so that's something I could do if she gets zapped and doing that. Sharp shot, no, yeah. Well, I guess I'm gonna start off by using Barrage just to make sure it gets hit.
Alright.
I'm trying to go for non-lethal damage one way or the other, trying to disable it. So let's just hit. So 2d6 plus...
Mika said this thing was under a shapeshift.
Yeah.
Alright. 87 damage. So you quickly lift up the crossbow and you fire up that one shot that splits into several and comes down, peppering the alley. A few of the bolts sort of poke into the bird's back, and there's this little spray, not of blood, but of actual fire that flares out of its chest after the impacts.
Am I close enough to use my dagger? I'll get close enough.
You can get within a melee range, but because you already made one attack, if you then subsequent it with the movement, you wouldn't be able to get in that second attack. You kind of have to already be in range, I think, is the rule we set, wasn't it?
Well, alright, I'm gonna get closer to it then, but yeah.
Alright. Alright. So that's both you and Mika have gone, so it's back to the bird. It's going to sort of just shake its head and force itself back to its feet. It's going to look up at you as you approach, and you can see there's literal fire just kind of leaking out of the few wounds it has. And it opens its beak wide, unnaturally so, and more flames spew out, sort of enveloping the whole bird into this Eye of Sauron-looking thing that glares back at you.
Water. Alright, noted.
And as it does that, you hear,
It all makes sense now.
in your head, before the bird glows faintly as it casts a spell, and it disappears.
Am I or it in my head?
What was that?
Was that it speaking in my head or Emma?
It was it. It was a voice you are unfamiliar with, a cold, sinister female voice.
Ah, damn it.
And as it vanished from view and the embers and sparks fade away, that is where we'll pick up next time.
Ah, fuck you.
I mean, it's nearly midnight, and I had a feeling we were going to stop at some point. And damn,
Yeah, that seems like a good
What a
stopping
battle.
point.
magic is
I'm just irritated that both our attempts to stop it just didn't work.
Nope.
Yeah, I think it would require all of us to assist you.
They were good attempts. The dice just weren't on your sides.
Yeah.
Well,
would
if
require
I,
all
if
of
I,
us
if
to
I hit
assist on
with my
that.
if I hit with my anti-fleet, it would have been able to go out. If it was stopped successfully, that would have been it as well. But...
Yeah, you just came up short. But yeah. So, thank you all, ladies and gentlemen, so much for tuning in. Thank you for joining us for Chronicles of Eno. We will see you next time. Until then, keep listening, people. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone. Have a nice time.
Lators. Tom is very salty.
I'm already enjoying this one.